to the worst 2 minutes in the history of WNBA basketball. I mean, WNBA basketball may have gotten set back 50 years last night, and it's only existed for 30. I mean, over and beyond. And guys, keep in mind, this was actually something that was said yesterday. Now, the Dream, Angel Reese and the Dream, played.
The WNBA world is buzzing on two fronts right now. Caitlin Clark continuing her surge despite friction with her coaching staff, and what many are calling the single ugliest individual performance in league history, delivered by Angel Reese on a night Atlanta fans had been waiting for all season. State Farm Arena sold out. The crowd was loud and ready. NBC had Tom Hammond calling the game alongside Jordan Cornette. And by most accounts, the broadcast team did a solid, professional job of covering what turned out to be a deeply lopsided night. Before tip-off, Reese spoke to the cameras about the moment, excited about the home crowd, confident about the matchup, clear that she felt ready to compete with A'ja Wilson. Head-to-head, she acknowledged Wilson is the MVP for a reason, but made a point of reminding everyone that she is also a good player who can guard at a high level. The stage was set. What followed was the opposite of what she described.
Played Las Vegas Aces. Kennedy Carter went off. Chelsea Gray went off. A'ja Wilson went off. You know who didn't go off? Angel Reese. And boy, it was ugly. And this was Jordan Cornette. By the way, NBC broadcast yesterday. Tom Hammond, that's a damn good broadcast, to be honest with you. I was like, wow, they called it.
Angel Reese went 1 for 8 from the field and turned the ball over 8 times. 1 for 8, 8 turnovers. The Las Vegas Aces, meanwhile, got contributions from Kennedy Carter, Chelsea Gray, and A'ja Wilson, all of whom showed up and played their game. Reese did not. At a critical point in the contest, when Atlanta began to chip away at a deficit and build some momentum, Reese was on the bench. Her team made a meaningful run while she watched from the sideline. Some pointed to foul trouble as the reason she sat, but that explanation only raises a separate problem. Managing fouls is part of the job, and failing to do so is not an excuse, it is part of the indictment.
Tom Hammond, that's a damn good broadcast, to be honest with you. I was like, wow, they called a good game. Guys, for real, listen.
Angel, it's your first time playing in front of this home Atlanta crowd and a sellout at State Farm Arena. What are the emotions?
I'm really excited. I know the city's coming out for us, and just being able to come together and play together. And I think we set an identity early on. It's what Atlanta will expect from us, so I'm really excited.
There's a couple of headliners this afternoon, and you and A'ja Wilson. What's your mentality entering that individual matchup?
I mean, just playing my game and knowing what I do best, but also knowing her game.
Either way, the team played better without her on the floor during that stretch. And that is not a detail that goes unnoticed. A video compilation of her worst moments from the game began circulating and spread quickly. The reel is almost hard to watch. Missed shots from close range. Turnovers that came in every form imaginable. Passes that went nowhere near a teammate. Drives that ended in chaos. Moments, this is where the ball seemed to find a way out of her hands and into the other team's possession. At one point, she made contact with a defender's face during a sequence that should never have gotten that far. There was a travel. Then another.
But also knowing her game a lot. I've watched her game a lot. She's obviously a great player. She's an MVP for a reason. But I know I'm also a good player too, and I can guard her well.
To protect home court, what's it going to take?
Okay. She said, I know she's a great player. I know I'm a great player too. Wow. A'ja Wilson, look, for all the things that A'ja says, she's the best player in the league right now. Plain and simple. And
A missed layup that drew audible reactions. The collection of mistakes, stacked one after another in just a couple of minutes of footage, reads less like a bad night and more like something assembled specifically to make a point. She was not the second best player on the floor that night. She was not the third. By the time the game was over, a reasonable argument could be made that bench players who logged limited minutes outperformed her, simply because they did not actively hurt their team the way she did. The turnovers alone were enough to swing momentum, combined with one made basket out of 8 attempts. The full picture was damaging. Reese also drew attention for reportedly going after online critics, specifically 2 accounts known for tracking her missed shots and using her performances as the basis for some kind of running bet or challenge.
plain and simple. And has been for the last however many years, right? I don't like the things that come out of her mouth. I don't love her attitude. But she's a dominant force. No doubt about it. Angel Reese went 1 of 8 with 8 turnovers. 1 of 8 with 8 turnovers. You know, I mean, she literally got benched while her team was making a run. I did a reaction video.
Rather than letting the noise stay in the background, she apparently engaged with it directly. The reaction to that decision was about as unkind as the reaction to her box score. The general sentiment was straightforward. Energy spent going after online commentators is energy not spent improving. For a player who put up that kind of stat line in front of a packed home crowd on a national broadcast, the priorities seemed off. The broader conversation around Reese has always involved a tension between her profile as a public figure and her production as a basketball player. She has a significant platform, a loud presence, and a fan base that follows her beyond the sport itself. None of that is unusual in modern athletics. But nights like this one make that tension harder to ignore.
Was making a run. I did a reaction video. Angel Reese got benched in crunch time. Her team made a comeback. One of her stands in that video said, she was in foul trouble. Okay, number one, that is her fault. Okay? That's her fault if she can't manage her fouls. So she got benched regardless. Number 2, what also doesn't look good is her team made a whole ass comeback while she's riding the pine.
The basketball did not match the moment, and on a night when the arena was full and the cameras were rolling, that gap was very visible. Women's professional basketball has worked hard to build credibility, expand its audience, and push the league into mainstream sports conversation. Games like the one Reese had do not help that effort, particularly when they happen under a bright spotlight with national broadcast coverage and a capacity crowd watching live. Dallas put together a solid overall performance in this one, even if the offense was a mess for most of the night. A large chunk of the scoring came in the final quarter, which was essentially dead rubber territory by that point. The Wings won by 20, and Paige Buchers had just 5 points for a significant portion of that game. She finished with 18 points and 7 assists, but calling it a genuine 18 and 7 performance would be a stretch. That said, credit belongs to head coach Jose Fernandez for how the game was managed, and to Buchers herself for understanding the moment.
Ass comeback while she's riding the pine. I mean, yikes. So that brings us over to this, because we knew somebody was going to put this together. This is possibly the worst 2 minutes of basketball you will ever see put together. I mean, Wow. This is the turnovers, the missed shots, all of it.
Get the screen from Reese.
Let's just check it out. Right here. I mean, she hit somebody in the
Through 3 quarters, Buckers was not a factor on the scoring end. She was present, she moved the ball well as a connector, and she held her own defensively, particularly against Sonia Citron, arguably her best defensive showing of the season. But the heavy lifting offensively was coming from players like Enrique, Jess Shepard, Segrist, and AAC. Buchers was doing what the team needed to win, nothing more. The attendance figure of around 6,250 appears to have been a sellout for the venue, which holds just over 7,000. Not a massive building, but a full house is a full house. Here is the thing about garbage time stat lines. They tend not to matter much in broader discussions, and the online debate around whether Buckers padded her numbers is largely beside the point. What actually matters is that there were fans in that building, paying to watch her play.
somebody in the face. Folks, she hit somebody in the damn grill and just turned that ball over, to hell with it. You know, what was that? And it's somebody else's fault, I think, is what I gather, right? Oh, here we go. That's where the shoe came off. Lord.
For most of the game, she gave them nothing to get excited about. Then, heading into the fourth, she flipped a switch, fadeaway threes, sharp passes, tough contested buckets. The crowd got loud. People went home happy. They are going to want to come back. That is the part that gets overlooked when the stat padding conversation takes over. Fans, especially younger ones, do not walk away remembering whether a game was already decided.
You know, in the Stan Wars. I understand in the Stan Wars why people are going to be like, oh, this game doesn't really matter because it's stat padded. Who cares? Like, at this stage, I actually don't give a flying fuck if it's stat padded. Was it stat padded? Hell yeah. Who cares? And genuinely, who cares? Because the problem is that there are fans in the gym. Paige Beckers did nothing through 3 quarters. She did nothing. I'm going to be real here. Paige did nothing.
They remember the moments. Buchers gave them moments, and not a single person who watched her in that fourth quarter left feeling like they wasted their time. To what is happening in Indiana. The Fever have gone from crowds of 17,000 down to 15,000 and then 14,000. They hold the lowest entry price in the league. Even with 17,000 seat arenas available, they may not finish in the top 3 for attendance this season. Caitlin Clark is the entire draw, and when she came off the floor to start the fourth quarter against Dallas, fans immediately start heading for the exits. This in a situation where the crowd was already down roughly 3,000 from the opening game of the season. Across Clark's first 27 home games, there were fewer empty seats combined than in just her last 2.
I'm going to be real here. Paige did nothing of note through 3 quarters. She was there. She was running cardio. She didn't fuck up ever. And she was a good connective passer. She was a really good connective passer today. She played good defense, really good defense in Sonia Citron. Paige is by 100 miles the best defensive game Paige Beckers has played this year. She was a really solid player. But the likes of Enrique and Jess Shepard and Segrist and Awak.
That trend is a problem. Nobody shows up hoping to see a close game managed conservatively. People show up for Caitlin Clark. The argument is not that she needs to play 40 minutes in a blowout. The argument is simpler than that. If the game is already out of reach, use 2 or 3 of those garbage time minutes to let her do something memorable. Shoot a logo 3. attempt something that ends up in a highlight clip, the game is over regardless.
Shepherd and Segrist and a whack were doing really well. So she was fine. There were only 6,000 people in attendance. Holy shit. Am I right in saying this has like 10,000? Am I wrong? Am I wrong with that? Oh no. There was 800 missing. So there was 800. It was a little bit less than the last game they played. Oh no.
The fans still in their seats are there specifically for her, giving them something to talk about. On the way home costs nothing. The Indiana Fever are not going to win many games this year. That is the reality. So in the games they do win, the entertainment value of those wins matters more, not less. Removing the one player the entire crowd came to see, while the game is still being played, is a decision that works against the team's own interests off the court. Stat padding exists throughout the league and always has. J.
That's a sellout. Is that a sellout? It's 7K. I think that might be a sellout. Because 6,251 is the same. It's the same as their last home game. I think that might be a sellout. I could be wrong. Is it a sellout? Yeah, it's probably a sellout. Yeah, it's not bad. Probably a sellout.
Wilson's numbers against strong teams sit around 20 points. Against weaker opposition, that figure jumps to 30. Even in her unanimous MVP season, the gap between her production against playoff teams and non-playoff teams was significant. It is part of how this league works. Buckers did what was asked of her to help Dallas win. Then, when the outcome was settled, she gave the building a reason to stay loud. Jose Fernandez let that happen. The fans who paid to be there got what they came for. That is how it is supposed to work.
And look, the reason why I don't really care that she stat padded is I think you're in our game. Like when you go and when you win a game by 20 and you have been there are zero flaws to your game other than, I'm going to be real here, probably just didn't shoot the ball enough early. Probably didn't shoot it enough early. So like at the same time, that's the only real flaw you have is that oh yeah, she didn't shoot enough. And that's always going to be a flaw of Paige Beckers. But at the same time, you have to be very real here. There are fans. There is a full house. And they are here to watch Paige Beckers play. And yes, Paige Beckers did nothing through 3 quarters. But Paige Beckers in the fourth quarter, with 5 seconds to go in the third quarter, Paige Beckers has 11 points, 4 assists, hits a couple of fadeaway threes, throws some crazy passes, hits some tough shots, and makes it a show for the fans. She makes it a show for the fans. The fans want to be there. They're happy. They saw Paige Beckers cook. They're going to want to come back again. The Indiana Fever have gone from 17,000 to 15,000 to 14,000. The Indiana Fever is the cheapest get-in price in the league. There are other teams that have 17,000 seater stadiums. None of them are as cheap to get in as the Indiana Fever. The Indiana Fever are probably going to end the season not top 3 in attendance. Maybe maybe they might get third. Maybe they might get third in attendance. But basketball is entertainment.